Hey everyone, Yasin here, and in this video I want to talk about something that I'm noticing a lot, and I feel partially responsible for it, but it's that people are drawing quickly but not really correctly. So what I mean by that is I've talked about iterative drawing, and basically it's, you get a page, and instead of drawing one super finished picture, you draw 20 iterations like on a page of the thing you're trying to draw. So let's say you're trying to learn facial proportions. Well, instead of drawing one face where you can try and figure out the proportions, you draw 20. But what gets lost in this is that you draw 20, but each one needs to be correct. So the reason they're small is not just so you can draw more, but it's so you focus less on all the details and you try and hone in on what's really important. So for instance, basic proportions. So let's say I was drawing one. Well, I'm actually going to take a lot of time on this first drawing. It's not like I'm going to just do whatever. I did 1 and then 2 and then 3 and be super fast. It's like, no, you got to take time. But the idea is that you try and get this to be as good as you can get it, which is pretty similar to what you would be doing with the, one face on the page. The difference is that because it's smaller, you're not going to be drawing too many details. So you get this done faster. Then, and faster just as in less time, not you're drawing faster. So then the next one, you're really looking at the previous one and you're looking for all the things you would have done differently, or maybe you're not really happy about it. Like maybe it's like, okay, well, I kind of don't like the nose placement there. So you're basically redrawing the thing, still not like super fast, but maybe I'll put the nose up here. But you're still aiming to be correct, right? So just because I'm experimenting, it doesn't mean I'm sloppy in doing it. I'm not gonna be just putting things down willy-nilly. I'm still gonna aim for correctness. I'm just experimenting with something in a format that I can do this quickly. So in the end, it's probably gonna take you a lot longer to do 20 of these than to do one of these, right? But in this one, once I get the features in place, let's say the proportions are kind of off. Well, chances are what I'm going to end up doing is just working on this and detailing it, even though the proportions might be off, because if you were to keep, like, for instance, if this was traditional and you kept erasing this, what's going to happen is you're going to get a really messy page. If this is pen, you can't really make those changes. So the idea is when you're starting out, iterative drawing is really important. And the whole point of it was to get mileage very quickly. And by quickly, I mean like in a year or 2 years, you're making up for maybe 15 years of not drawing. So you're basically trying to make up for some kid who maybe has been drawing all their life and really loves drawing and was drawing all throughout their childhood. Maybe they're 19 now, right? And maybe they've been drawing for 15 years. Okay, and let's say you're 25 and you haven't really been drawing that much, and you need to make up as much mileage as they did, but they had 15 years. So what are you going to do? Well, this is sort of a way of compressing that. So instead of doing this thing where maybe that person did a lot of finished images or a very unfocused way of learning where, you just draw what you like. So today I'm going to draw Goku from Dragon Ball, and then tomorrow I'm going to draw a dinosaur. It's like, no. Instead of being scattered, you're trying to be very focused and get one thing right and then build on that. So it's really, really important to be correct and not quick. Because the speed thing, I feel like I hear it a lot with younger people. especially, but I suppose maybe just beginners, it's better to say it that way, that, whoa, this guy draws so fast, as if that's a good thing. Like, drawing fast is fine, but it's not really something inherently good. It's something that it's just fast. Like, you could be a race car driver and you could drive really fast and drive well, or you could just be some guy who's driving really fast and doesn't mean you're driving well. Maybe you get into a bunch of accidents or something. So speed is nothing really impressive, or it's nothing I would say to be impressed by. If you watch Kim Jung-gi draw, for instance, he doesn't draw fast. He draws pretty slowly and methodically. So, like, he'll draw very, I'm not going to pretend like I can draw like Kim Jung-gi, but he'll draw very methodically, and like, he'll get the thing done in a short amount of time, right? But it's not fast. He's not drawing like, whoa, yeah, get this down. So that's the thing. Be correct. And this also will help in finishing images. So I also hear some people say, you know, they've been doing iterative drawing for a while and they've improved a lot, but they're having a lot of trouble making an image finished. So I think that again goes to this focus on perhaps being quick. So let's say you're having trouble with that. All right, so I'm just gonna do, as an example, a quick drawing. Maybe this is sort of like what people, yeah, okay, I did a drawing, yay, cool, right? Okay, so you've done your drawing and then you're gonna move on to the next one. But I wouldn't, because let's say you get to this point, right? Well, that's something, but it's not finished. And I'm doing this for the sake of exaggeration, so I don't expect most people are doing it this loose. But let's just say this is where you get it to. Okay, well, the next stage is the slow stage. So that's where you really take your time, and I mean, if you're in digital, maybe you zoom in, and you've got this framework, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. That's just a general shape, and that's a good starting point. The reason why I think sometimes it's good to be sort of fast to get down your ideas is just because you're getting rid of the blank page. See here, if I was to draw something, and let's say I was drawing a face, and I'm going to draw it, let's say I'm trying to draw it correctly and slowly, well, there's nothing to work off of, so it's kind of hard. Whereas if you have a basic structure down like this, now I have a framework. But what I can do now is I can really slow down and think about what I'm doing. This is super important. As important as it is not to, I don't know about drawing fast, but something that's really lacking is thinking. Like, before you put down the line, really think about it. Think about, what are you going to draw? And this really helps when doing figure drawing, for instance. Like, you might have, you know, one of those figure drawing apps that have the model, and the model, you know, whatever, doing something. All right, so and your tendency is you have the page, and let's say this image comes up on the app, and you immediately have your blank page, and you see this, and okay, let's get to drawing, or maybe even briefly look at it, and then, okay, so, you know, you got a triangle, you've got this gesture, and then get it down. And for fast poses, yeah, I suppose that's something you have to do, but this is one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of drawing super quickly. What I think it is good for is stuff like animation, where you need to get not necessarily the anatomy or the proportions or anything. You just need to get a feeling of the pose, a feeling of the gesture, because you're probably going to manipulate that into different characters, and you're not super worried about anatomy. But when it comes to like this type of drawing, what I think is better is to really spend, let's say you have a minute to draw, 1 minute, spend 30 seconds not drawing. Just in the beginning, just looking at it. Like, observe things. Observe, like, oh, you look at this and then you notice something. Like, oh, okay. You notice, well, this sort of fits in a triangle. That's interesting. Okay, so her torso goes out this much, and it's sort of in line with her head. Oh, I didn't think about that. Okay, I've got to remember to put that in. Oh, there's this kind of triangle that appears here, this small triangle. Maybe that could help. Stuff like that. Thinking more than drawing is really helpful. So in this case, with the finished image, you can really slow down. And probably this isn't, like, I wouldn't do this rough of a drawing and then go straight into the cleanup stage. I would probably do a few more. And it's fine to, do as many versions as you need. So like a more clean version, let's just say, rather than going to the super small brush, I just start with a bit smaller. And now I can slow down, but maybe I'm still not, super slow, but I can get more of a sense of what this character is going to look like. And really, I'm redrawing it, but I'm letting the previous lines act as a guide. So I'm not actually going to be I'm not tracing this. Like, this is the nose that was there. That's not the nose I'm going to draw. That's just the idea of where generally I want the feature. But let's say I'm actually going to flesh this out. Well, maybe I'd think more about, well, maybe it goes like that. And then you have this other eye back here, So when you're having trouble with finishing images, this can be a big help. It's just really slowing down. But if you're having trouble with your basic proportions and stuff, that's where I feel like this iterative drawing stuff is much, much better. So to me, cleanup is all about, and Steven Silver is a guy who's talked about this before, so I'm pretty much just parroting his words, but it does make a lot of sense. When you do cleanup, you're actually redrawing the image. It's much better to think of it that way, that you're redrawing and correcting. So, for instance, if I have this line for the chin, I can think, like, is this the best line I could put? If I have all, like, I could put a line here, I could do something like this, I could do something like that. And you get to imagine, like, is what I'm going to do the best version? And because you're now not worrying about things like proportions, because the proportions are taken care of, right? Your basic things are taken care of. Hopefully by this point, you already have a sense of anatomy, because that's really important. But you get to focus on, okay, what do I want this line to be? Do I want it like that or like that? Or, like, there's a bunch of things to consider that you can think about. So when you draw or you clean up, you redraw, I guess, you are treating it much more like a fresh drawing as opposed to just tracing lines that you've already done. And I think that really makes it more enjoyable. I used to despise cleanup. I still kind of don't like it, but because I just like getting the idea down. And once I get the idea down, I kind of feel like, yeah, that's good enough. But it's a sense of boredom that comes in where I feel like I've already drawn this, now I have to draw it again just to I don't know, make it presentable. I don't really like that part of it. But the more I think about, you're not just tracing, you're actually improving the lines. You're making a different drawing in a sense, but like an improved version. And you get to ask yourself questions like, is this the best possible way I could have drawn this? Or is there an even better solution? So when you're doing that, you then, I feel anyway, you get to deal with a lot more interesting things. So really, this correct thing is most of what I wanted to say. Now there is something, I have to play devil's advocate and talk about the opposite, because there is something to be said for drawing quickly and then accuracy comes later. And that's fine, but I suppose for animation that's really very okay. You know, you draw quickly, don't worry about accuracy, that comes in time. But when I see people really struggling, or maybe not even struggling so much as stagnating, like they're drawing and they're getting a lot of drawings done, but, and I've noticed this a lot, even on the Cycra forum, I've noticed a lot of people are doing like figure drawings and they draw pretty quickly, and the drawings are pretty nice, you know, they're getting somewhere. And there's a lot of this broken line stuff going on where it's like the lines aren't connected. See, like how this arm is kind of like, oh, okay, and you know, you draw an arm and a hand and whatever, and you just get fast, and there's a sense of, okay, I did a drawing, all right, cool, let's do another one. You know, maybe get the eyes, and everything's like, it's sort of okay, it's sort of good, but it's not really accurate. And then there's just another drawing, right? So it's maybe this time it's a different pose, and maybe they even use construction. The construction's not bad, but it's this sense of like, well, it's not bad, but it's not good either. Like, it's not, I'm afraid of using the word perfect, because, you know, nothing's going to be perfect, but you're not striving for perfection. You're just, oh, okay, that's a cool pose, and all right, let's move on to something else. And instead of this, it's like, fine, treat this as one attempt and then try to improve on it. So if that's your first construction, there's a lot to consider. First of all, what is this? Is this draw really doing this? Is that the ultimate form of what you're going for? You know, usually you need to slow down and get, you know, things more accurate. And then you might have to really be thinking a lot more, you know, what does this contour really look like, or what am I drawing? And it exposes your weaknesses, which is not fun, for sure, but you know, it is important to build on what you're not good at. So here I get to think about how wide do I really want the arm to be like that? And besides, it's not even the same proportion. I mean, it's similar, but it's not that similar to what it's the other arm. So you really have to think about these things. You know, what do you really want it to look like, and then aim for that. So I think basically, you know, the most of what I wanted to talk about I have covered. So yeah, it's just that thing. Better to be correct than quick. And besides, when you get things correct, and you do that a lot, because you get better at whatever you do, right? So if you're sloppy, you draw a lot and you're always sloppy, you will get better at being sloppy. So if this is your sloppy level, maybe, you know, you're a master at being sloppy because you've just been drawing sloppy all the time. But if you're correct all the time, you will get fast anyway. That's just how it works. You'll get faster. Doesn't mean you'll necessarily be drawing super fast, but it does mean that when you do draw, there's a much higher accuracy and you don't have to take so long. So yeah, be correct, not quick. And I hope this helped, and thanks for watching.